WWE Superstar Spectacle was yesterday. I give my thoughts on the show and who of the few guys I saw on that show may be a star coming out of it. The Dusty Rhodes Classic for both the men and women continue this week on NXT, but today we're going to comment about last week's matches for the Dusty Classic. We also talking about the WWE Network moving over to Peacock, NXT possibly getting bumped off of Wednesdays, The Undertaker thinking the WWE roster today is a bunch of bitches, and Royal Rumble predictions coming up this weekend, among other things. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the 31st edition of the Chill Spill Podcast. The S is silent, by the way. Yo, what is going on, guys? It is your boy Tyler Mask, aka Tyler Kuhn Williams, aka Tyler Suplex, aka the one who lived, and welcome back to another edition of the Chill Spill Podcast. And that is pill spelled with an S, but it is silent, much like I am not. Because your boy ended up making $500 yesterday. Let's go. Where the money reside, where the money reside, where the money reside. You guys see that meme online about the one guy that works at Honda Motors doing the whole money thing? Where the money reside, where the money reside, where the money reside. That's me right now. See, if y'all don't know, which you probably don't know because I don't really talk too much about this kind of stuff because I don't really want to speak on it. I don't know too much about it. But a week ago, about to be on 2 weeks ago, I just started getting into stock trading. I use the Robinhood app. If you guys have not already hopped on it, or at least tried to figure out how to do stock trading, I think the easiest way for you guys to go about it is downloading the Robinhood app and just getting yourself at least one free stock. But for like the longest time, my mom been like, you gotta invest in stocks, you're young, you gotta invest in stocks. And I'm like, whatever. So one of my coworkers invests in stocks as well, and I always ask him like, oh, what's going on with the stock market today? And he will go off for like 10-20 minutes, and I don't know what he's saying. I'm like, whatever. So after months and months of hearing these people convince me to join the cult that is the Wall Street cult, I finally download the Robinhood app, and I invest in some stocks. Now, a few weeks when I come back from on my trip to Puerto Rico, when I came back, I had this idea that because movie theaters were closed down, Regal just recently shut down, AMC and Cinemark are like two of the last movie theater chains left standing. Cinemark is doing okay for themselves in terms of the stock market, but AMC is like really low. At the time, they were at like I think $2. And I was like, well, given the fact that all these movies were delayed last year into this year, by the time June comes around, assuming that COVID is subsided, at least some by then, the way this country is, I wouldn't be surprised if it's not at all subsided, or at least, a quarter of the way contained. Yeah, but my hoping is that at least by that time, some things will be different. In some way. I said by that time, I like to think a lot of these movies are going to start coming out if they don't get pushed back again, and the movie theater business will start to surge again. So I said, all right, when I get back, I'm going to sign up for the Robinhood app, and I'm going to invest in AMC stocks while they're low. So about 2 weeks ago, I downloaded the Robinhood app, and as you guessed, I put about 35 shares in AMC. Now, AMC stocks at the time were $237 when I first invested. They were $237. I invested in this like 8 days ago. $237. As I speak to you right now, like right this very second, AMC stocks are at $17.41. $17.41. From $237 to $17.41. That's almost 100% increase. Well, no, that's more than 100% increase. It's almost, it's double. It's almost 10 times Nearly 10 times what I put into the stock market. Now, the stock market opens up at 9:30 a.m. As I'm recording this, it's currently 8:55. So if I dip away for a second, it's because I'm checking the stock market. I'm trying to see where this goes. AMC is currently trending on Twitter right now. Hashtag save AMC. Everybody retweet hashtag save AMC and then download the Robinhood app and invest in AMC stocks. Because when you eat, I eat. When you invest in AMC stocks, my stock goes up. I'm trying to pull out when it gets to $20. Because then I would have made 10 times what I put in, and I will easily have made $1,000 by that time. So everybody, do yourself a favor and invest in AMC stocks. Then go to your local AMC and see a movie. I don't care what movie it is. It could be the worst movie of all time. Go see a movie. Help your brother out. Help your brother out. And that was the first beginning of this podcast, because this is the Chill Spill podcast, not the Chill Spill Wrestling podcast. I could talk about whatever the hell I want. Just remember that. I am by no means a stock trader or a professional one or a stock broker. I just started getting into the market. As I'm speaking to you right now, AMC stocks has fell to 1648. So I'm going to take my eyes off the stock market for a second. But by no means am I master at this. So please do your research before you invest in stocks if you're interested in that. But just wanted to put that out there. Put some positive energy into the universe. I'm going to make $1,000 off this damn stock market today and or tomorrow. And then when I pull all my money, I'm going to probably put some back into AMC, because I'm still confident they're going to do a rise later in the year when movie starts coming out. The only reason why AMC is doing a rise right now is because recently they just pulled, I think, $960 million to keep themselves alive. So that's the reason why everyone's investing in them. But now that this trend is going on, more people are going to invest in it, and that's just going to keep it on uprise. Because if you guys don't know, GameStop had, like, I would think one of the biggest surges of all time. If I could go back to the Robinhood app real quick and tell you guys exactly where it was. GameStop was at like $10, $15, I think, a few days ago. Like a few weeks ago, it was like ridiculously low. No one's really buying games. You would think with the new consoles coming out, you know, it would go up some, but it ain't going by much. You know, it was a little bit. But let me look into this right now. GME GameStop. All right, go back a month. I'll go back just 1 week. Literally just 1 week ago. On January the 20th, GameStop stocks were at $38.41. As of right now, GameStop stocks are at $229. One of the biggest surges I've ever seen. Now, I'm mad because I'm like, if I would have just invested, because it crossed my mind at one point. But I said, no, nobody fucking shops at GameStop anymore. So I didn't do anything. Like, if I would have put in at least one share, just one share, I would have made a bank of at least like $100, $200. So, not gonna lie, your boy a little mad about that. But hey, I'm making my money off my AMC stocks. Once these AMC stocks start to plummet, they're gonna plummet. I'm gonna take my money out. Then I'm going to put it into something else. Because I actually have a free stock. When you sign up with Robinhood, you get a free stock. And one of my free stocks went into SiriusXM. Like, you know, SiriusXM radio. They're actually having a bit of uprise too. Because a few days ago, they were at, I think, $6. And now they're currently at $6.55. Like, it's a small one. But that shows you, like, these penny stocks, how little they rise. And in comparison to AMC stocks, which rose almost 1,000%, like, it's insane to think about. But yeah, that's kind of my stock ventures. Don't expect this to be a stocks podcast. Like I said, I just started doing stocks 2 weeks ago. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just throwing stuff out there because I'm pretty excited about what's going on with myself and my money right now. My pockets are looking pretty full, not gonna lie. But that being said, guys, let me click out of this app so that way I don't get too distracted. Hopefully the stock market doesn't plummet while I'm doing this podcast. I'm gonna be pissed. But let's talk about some pro wrestling. So, I just checked out WWE Superstar Spectacle yesterday. I did a live stream for it on my Tyler Coon Williams channel, which the live stream did really well. Like, I think as of right now, it's currently at like 800 views or something close to that. Like, these WWE live streams have been doing way better than I expected them to. Way better. Which is ridiculous because I don't even like WWE like that. But if you guys want to see me do WWE content, I'm not closed off to the idea as long as I'm live streaming, because I'll tell you what, there's a difference for me. When I'm live reacting to something, I have the chat to focus on as well. So I have other questions, other people I'm talking to. My entire focus does not have to be on the show. If I'm doing a review, my entire focus has to be on the show. And I can't entirely focus on a WWE show like that anymore, because I don't care that much. And by that much, I mean like at all about main roster stuff. I care a little about NXT, you know, they're doing their Dusty Rhodes Classic, so I'm just trying to get back into it. But with Raw and SmackDown, you guys already know, I don't fucking care, so. But that aside, let's talk about this show. This show did emanate from the Thunderdome. The crowd was composing of people from India, which I thought was a nice change of pace. You know, the colors representing India. White, green, orange was the theme of the show. It looked very different. It happened during the day. I think they opened up the dome. Like, not the entire dome, but like if you look up at the top portion of it, I think they recorded it during the day, because you could see sunlight coming in. I feel like the sunlight gave it an atmosphere that most shows don't have, and I feel like I like that. Like, the atmosphere of this show, even though it's the same as Raw and SmackDown, and like literally every pay-per-view since like WrestleMania, not WrestleMania, Elimination Chamber last year, it's the same concept pretty much. It looked different. It looked different. It looked aesthetically more pleasing than most shows have. I don't think going forward we should be having day shows, but I'm just saying, if they want to do a day show for WrestleMania this year, which, never mind, WrestleMania is not going to be at the Thunderdome. It's going to be in the actual stadium, so stand corrected. But I did like the appeal of this show. So we start off with our first match of the day. It was Finn Balor versus Guru Raj. Remember, this is a Indian-based show on Republic Day, so a lot of Indian talent were on the show. Guru Raj was billed as NXT's first Indian-born high flyer. So going into this match, my expectations were higher than they should have been, because this guy, I don't want to come on here and make it seem like I'm being negative Nancy. I'm trying to bury the guy. But for someone they built as the firstborn Indian high flyer NXT, he ain't do much high flying. Now maybe I'm just a little indie mark now. Maybe I watched too much Ricochet and Will Ospreay. Maybe I watched too much of those guys to appreciate the quality of high flying as such moves like the dropkick, or the top rope crossbody, or listen to this, an enziguri. That's really the extent of his moves here as far as high flying went. Maybe it's high flying to the Great Khali, because lifting his foot off the ground is a high octane move. I don't know. But he went in here against Finn Balor. I thought the match was okay. That's the trend about the show. Most of the matches were okay. I don't think there was really anything worth watching early on as part of this review. Nothing really worth watching on the show, but let's continue on. Balor did win the match with the 1916. He pinned Guru Raj, shook his hand afterwards. Like I said, it was an okay match. Guru Raj didn't look bad, though. He didn't look bad. I think give him some more time, and whatever they're using him in NXT, they're probably in developmental. Give him more time at the PC. He'll definitely start to get the hang of things. Probably be a bigger star sometime down the line. Bigger. Well, he's not a star now, but you guys get the point. You guys get my point. Going into the next match, we have Rey Mysterio, Ricochet, Dilsher Shanky, and Giant Zanjeer versus Dolph Ziggler, King Corbin, Cesaro, and Shinsuke Nakamura. Now, this is actually my first time seeing Shinsuke Nakamura as a babyface since like 2018, I think. Which is kind of crazy, because that was going on 3 years ago. But that shows you how much I watched the product. So you have Dilsher Shanky and Giant Zanjeer, 7-footers. I believe I think Dilsher was 7'2", and Zanjeer was 7 feet even. And they're paired off with Ricochet and Rey Mysterio, two of the smallest guys on the roster. And you know for a fact they did this on purpose. They wanted to have the visual of these 7-foot guys standing tall next to these guys who were like almost 3 feet under them. And they did just that. It was really just these guys standing next to him the whole time. Like, well, look how tall these guys are. I'm like, all right, bro, I get it. And there was this one really odd visual in the match. I don't know who thought this was a good idea, or why they thought it was a good idea. But at one point, you had the heels coming in, trying to do moves on the babyfaces. Babyfaces started countering it. The last heel to get in the ring was Cesaro. And he gets in the ring, and then you have Giant Zangier and Del Shear's Shanky standing up to him. And he's like, whoa, 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 in the corner or whatnot. And then you have Ricochet, Rey Mysterio, from out of nowhere, on all fours like a dog, go underneath the legs of both Shanky and Zangier, and almost like dogs started barking. I'm like, what? Who? What? That? Oh no, that looked kind of embarrassing. I don't know why they did it. It was not a good visual. It wasn't imposing. It wasn't threatening. It just looked weird. Shit like that makes me look. It makes us wrestling fans look odd for watching this shit. But nothing worth talking about in this match aside from maybe the finish. Rey Mysterio hits a 619 on Cesaro. He goes to the top rope, but then Del Shear Zanky gets into the ring, and he's like, "Hey, let me help you out, brother." And Rey Mysterio gets on his shoulders. This guy is taller than the top rope, by the way. He gets on his shoulders, he hoists him up, and Rey Mysterio does a frog splash, terrible looking one, off of his shoulders onto Cesaro and gets the pin for the team. Shanky, Zangier, Ricochet, and Mysterio winning this match. Shanky and Zangier, 7-footers. Usually those guys are not very mobile. One of the very few mobile guys that are like 6'9" above would be Braun Strowman, but even him now is not even like that, because I think he's a heel and heels can't do as much. But like for a 7-footer, he was more agile than most guys, like, you know, Andre the Giant or Great Khali or the Giant Gonzalez. Like, he's more agile than those guys. I wouldn't say they had more to offer than like the Big Show or Braun Strowman once again, but I think they have potential. I didn't think they were good, but I think they have potential. Next match we had in here was AJ Styles versus Jeet Rama. This easily was the best match on the show. Now, that's not really saying much because the rest of the matches on the show were either okay or decent, but I would say this was a fairly good match. It's impossible to have a bad match when you're in the ring with AJ Styles, who's a veteran, one of the greatest of all time. Jeet Rama was no slouch in here. I thought that this match is overhyped a lot because people saw the one good match on the show. They're like, oh my god, this is a really good or even great. I'm like, all right guys, calm down. But he had nice technical mat work in here. He hung in there with AJ Styles for a bit. I think once AJ started his standing offense or, you know, strikes and whatnot, Jeet Rama really started to look kind of like the rookie. But outside of that, he held his own. I think probably the most noteworthy spot of the match was AJ Styles locking Jeet in the calf crusher. He had him locked in his calf crusher for at least a solid 15 minutes. Like maybe like 30, 45 seconds for Jeet Rama. And I said this on live stream. I'm like, Jeet should do like Brock Lesnar and just start ramming AJ's head against the mat. And what do you know? This guy heard my call from thousands of miles away over here in America. And he started ramming AJ Styles' head against the mat like Brock Lesnar did all them years ago. And I'm like, you know what? Let's go. About a minute or so later, he starts getting offense in. He puts AJ on a top rope for a superplex, but almost. AJ Styles, his big black manager, pulls AJ Styles. I don't know why I said it like that. Pulls AJ Styles, tugs on his trunks. This leads Rama to fall backwards onto his back. AJ Styles sees his opening, hits a phenomenal form onto Jeet, and gets the pin. AJ Styles winning this match. So, I don't think anyone should have expected AJ nor Finn to lose any of these guys, but they put in work against these guys, especially AJ Styles, the Jeet Rama guy. From the promo packages I've seen, he's been in NXT before, so he's not completely new, but I wait to see what he can do. After that, we got a mid-show performance by the Spinning Canvas. So this Indian band, this Indian, like, you know, line of people, they started doing this dance. This dance that they did, it was a solid like maybe 5 or so minutes, was probably the best part of the show. It was very entertaining, very nice to watch. And I think if you aren't a fan of these performances during a wrestling show, you're probably going to hate it. But for cultural experience, I loved it. I thought it was great. I enjoyed it. Then we get into the co-main event of the evening. This is a very short show. This show was an hour and a half, so easily digestible, but still wouldn't recommend it. Co-main event of the evening, Charlotte Flair and Serena Sandhu versus Bayley and Natalya. This spot was originally meant to be for Kavita Devi, who we've seen before in WWE as part of the 2017 and 2018 Mae Young Classic. 2017, she was in the ring with Dakota Kai. That's one of the most viewed WWE videos of all time. Not anymore, but it was like in 2017. And in 2018, I don't remember who she faced off against, but I do remember her being in that Mae Young Classic. And then she was actually at WrestleMania 34 in the Women's Battle Royal on the pre-show. So she's had some, some spots in WWE's main roster system, at least at NXT and WrestleMania. So she's a known name. But due to family issues she had back in India, she had to fly back to the country. This left a new girl by the name of Serena Sandhu to take her place with Charlotte Flair. The match was aggressively okay. There wasn't anything wrong with it, but nothing that was really captivating either. Sandhu got locked into a sharpshooter by Natalya. Charlotte Flair came out of nowhere. While Natalya had the submission locked in, hit the natural selection onto Natalya. And then from there, Serena saw her opportunity, went for the pin, got the 3 count on Natalya to secure the dub for herself and Charlotte. So, Serena is the one girl on this show, and she got the pin over Natalya, former Raw Women's Champion or SmackDown Women's Champion, one of the two. Former Divas Champion. Like, Natalya, even though they don't use her anymore, really, for anything, big, that's a pretty big name to get a win over. Obviously, they were going to have her pin Bayley, who's like one of the top stars on SmackDown. But, pin Natalya is a pretty good feat. So, this Serena Sandhu girl, I'm almost certain, if it was Kavita Devi in here, it would have been the same outcome. But the Serena Sandhu, if they wanted to do something with her, probably give her some more time, because I didn't think she was that good. She wasn't bad, but she wasn't good either. Probably give her some more time, maybe like maybe like 6-8 more months, maybe a year in the PC. Bring her back up to NXT and see what she can do after that. They may have something with this girl, maybe. But then we get to the main event. Indus Sher and Drew McIntyre versus Jinder Mahal and the Bollywood Boys. Very disappointed in WWE for not using the Bollywood Boys' theme song. They used Jinder Mahal's theme song like it was the old days of Jinder Mahal and the modern day Maharaja. So, wasn't a fan of that. But this was also a fine 6-man tag. It was kind of odd because usually in these typical WWE television 6-man tag team matches, you'll usually have like the heels working over the baby faces and leading to the babyface comeback or whatnot. But in here, Indus Sher were the baby faces because they were teamed up with the babyface WWE champion Drew McIntyre. And they spent a lot of this match beating down the Bollywood Boys, which is odd because usually the baby face isn't beating down the heel all that long. But, the Bollywood Boys, they're much, much smaller than Indus Sher, so you're not going to have them coming in here, working over Indus Sher. So they got beat down a lot for this match. Whenever Jinder Mahal was in the ring with Indus Sher, they really, had a challenge. But outside of that, I don't really think many people on the opposite side struggled the way that Jinder Mahal and the Bollywood Boys did. So outside of that strategy, I mean, the way that match was structured, it was unconventional. But it wasn't in a bad way unconventional, but definitely noticeably not normal for a match to be structured. But like I said, not a bad thing. It was different, but I think because the match wasn't good, it's nothing really to brag about anyway. But the match came to an end when Drew McIntyre hit a non-legal Jinder Mahal with the Claymore kick, setting him outside of the ring. Indus Sher ended up finishing off one of the Bollywood Boys with the assisted leg drop from the middle rope. They got the pin. Indus Sher and Drew McIntyre winning this match to close out Superstar Spectacle. And in the ring was Triple H standing alongside Serena and Guru Raj holding up their shoulders while Indus Sher, the two giants, and I think Jeet Rama were in the ring with Drew McIntyre and 2 other people. So that was Superstar Spectacle. I thought, like I said, it was an okay show. It's nothing I would ever rewatch again. I think that if you were to watch one thing from this show, it would probably be AJ Styles versus Jeet Rama. But even then, I wouldn't even recommend that match. Like it was good at best, but good if you watch WWE a lot. For me, who doesn't watch WWE a lot and isn't really like big on the WWE style, I thought it was okay. But like I said, I think somebody out there who watches this product a lot probably is gonna enjoy AJ versus Jeet Rama. So that's like the one match I would say recommend it to. But outside of that, I would give this show like, I want to give it 5.5, but because it was a culturally different show and it was something different, it was short, there wasn't a lot of negatives about this show. It was just an okay show. So I want to really badly give it a 6, but I'm going to give it a 5.5. 5.5 for me. But moving away from Superstar Classic, and let me just say this, if there is one Indian person on that show that stood out to me, I said it already, I would probably say it was Jeet Rama. I think of all the people I've seen, he could be the one that could break out and be an actual star if they give him more time. Because he actually showed some nice technical mat work in there with AJ Styles. It was just that everything else he didn't really feel effective. Outside of, the counter that he did with AJ Styles with his head ramming against the mat. But that's something you can work on over time. Especially if he's been training in the PC for that long. They say he's been training for 5 years, which seems kind of long to not really advance that much. But hey, I don't know the situation, so we'll see what happens. But getting out of that, let's talk about the WWE Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic that happened on NXT last week. We had 3 matches. There was also 2 matches that happened on 205 Live. Timothy Thatcher and Tommaso Ciampa were involved. They won the match. And then the other match was the debuts of Coraline Jade. I don't know if it's Coraline or Coraline. I see the name, I think of Coraline, like the movie Coraline, one of my favorite movies, by the way. Coraline Davis and what was the other girl's name? What was Priscilla Kelly's new name? Priscilla Kelly versus The Way. Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell, and Candice and Indy won the match. I had to just brush by those because I didn't watch those matches, only watched the NXT matches. But let's dive into the NXT matches. So the first one we had in here was Austin Theory and Johnny Gargano versus Kushida and Leon Ruff. Before we talk about that, let me take a swig of this water real quick. I'm a little parched. I see AMC stocks are currently up at $18. Let's go. 10 more minutes until 9:30. I have to peek back at it to see if I want to sell or not, but we'll talk about that in a bit. Austin Theory and Johnny Gargano versus Kushida and Leon Ruff. I thought this was a fairly good match. A lot of this was The Way doing separation attacks on Leon Ruff, isolating him from Kushida, who they've been protecting a lot. Not protecting, I guess you could say protecting his legs because he keeps on wearing these goddamn jeans. Why is he wearing jeans? It looks so weird to me. I need them to put him back in those white shorts he used to wear in New Japan. Please. That's all I ask of you. I incredibly looked over Leon Ruff a lot when he was the North American champion. And that was mainly because I didn't watch the product enough to care. But he was really impressive in this match. Like, he reminds me a lot of... And I don't want to compare him to anybody from the main roster. I hate doing these wrestler comparisons. But he reminds me of what John Morrison was in 2010. Subside all the, freakishly incredible feats of flips that he used to incorporate from his parkour training. Like, just the things he would do, and he reminded me of, like, Miles Morales from Spider-Man. Like, I got Miles Morales vibes from watching him. He could take a beating, and he could also dispatch some offense that isn't completely unrealistic because... freaking Leon Ruff, he's a very skinny guy. Like, Leon Ruff now is what I used to look like back in high school. Like, he is slim, and you put him against anybody on the main roster, and nobody for a chance will believe that this guy's going to win a match. So his offense has to be not like lifting people up, but flying around the ring, using strikes as advantage, using speed and agility to the highest extent, and that's what he does, and it works for him. When he got the hot tag on the Kushida, it was a decent hot tag. Kushida came in here, he was running wild. I thought he had really good psychology in the ring with Gargano. Austin Theory, he did his part in here, but I think it was mainly focused on Kushida and Gargano, who were having a match at NXT TakeOver, the February 14th edition. I think they're going to probably call it St. Valentine's Day Massacre, or they may not because of the whole Owen Hart situation. We'll see when we get to it. But they had good chemistry. Kushida ended up winning the match with a gentleman's clutch. I don't know what the move is technically called, but I remember back in the day when Simon Gotch was in NXT, he used to do it, and then he called it the gentleman's clutch. So I'm going to call it the gentleman's clutch. He hit that onto Johnny Gargano, and he got the pin. So they're advancing on to the next round, where they will be facing the Grizzled Young Veterans. If I had to make a clean prediction right here, I'm going to say that GYV wins that match. Next one, we get into the Women's Tag Team Classic. Casey Catanzaro and Kaden Carter versus Mercedes Martinez and Toni Storm. This was a decent match. It wasn't too much that happened. I really could only highlight the end where Io Shirai came in to cost Mercedes and Toni the match. She ended up attacking Mercedes. Referee, I don't know if he didn't see it. He was blind or if he's suffering from red shoe syndrome, but he was too focused on Toni. Toni got distracted. She got put down by Kaden. Casey gets tagged in. She goes to the top rope and she hits this insane move. She turns around and I think she's going for a moonsault, but she hits this multi-rotational moonsault that lands on her back. It's like a backwards multi-rotational Phoenix splash, but it's not a Phoenix splash. She doesn't land on her belly, she lands on her back, which it's cool in execution, but I feel like it's a dangerous move to do because when you're doing all them flips in the air and the height, she got some height on this move too. When you're doing all them flips in the air and you're landing on your back, I feel like there's a lot of room for error. And she could have easily overshot or undershot and just came crashing down on her back, on her neck, on her head. Like, I assume she's been training, practicing this move before she went on TV and did it. But I don't know if I would do that move. Like, it was cool to see. Cool to see. But I think keep the flight. Keep the flight. The flight's cool. But maybe reconsider the landing. And I think it's for her own good. Because I really don't want to see her botch it. Because I feel like if she ever botches this move, it's going to fucking hurt. And even worse, injure her. That's my concern. But outside of that, I think it's the coolest looking move in NXT right now. Maybe even all of wrestling right now. But she hits that move and gets the pin. So Casey Catanzaro and Kaden Carter advance on. Shocker of the night to me. I didn't expect them to win. They've been a team for about a solid year. But they're advancing on. I don't know who they're facing, but, you know, if Casey can keep on doing moves like that, maybe safer variations, but moves like that, and Katie can keep doing her thing, I wouldn't mind seeing them go to the finals. They're not winning it, but I wouldn't see them go to the finals. I wouldn't mind it. They won the match. Then we get into the final Dusty Rhodes tag team match of the night. Lince Dorado, or as I call him, Lince Dorito, despacito, let me stop. And Grand Metalik versus Fabian Eichner and Marcel Bartel of Imperium. This was a good match. I thought this was easily the best match I've seen from the Dusty Rhodes Classic of the night. Lots of good tag team dynamic in here. It's crazy because the Lucha House Party has been taken as really just, you know, nothing more than a gimmick for... How long have they been together? I feel like they've been together for at least 3 years now. I'm pretty sure I did a 205 live review back in like 2018 talk about the Lucha House Party. So they've been together for like 3 years now, which is ridiculous. But that's all that Vince sees these luchadors as Mexican stereotypes that are nothing more than parading themselves around as spot monkeys and masks. That's what Vince sees them as. Don't quote me. But Lucha House Party, they did their thing in here. I thought they were really good. Incredibly overshadowed as a tag team, but like I said, it's due to the nature of the gimmick. And in this match, when the chains are off, they shine bright. Fabian Eichner, Marcel Bartel, they're really good as well. But I feel like a lot of the attention was on Lince Dorado and Grand Metalik because you don't really get to see them shine a lot on the main roster of 205 Live. But in here, they did just that. And what do you know? They actually got the win here. Lince Dorado actually ended up hitting a shooting star press onto Marcel Bartel, and getting the pin for his team. So they're going on to the next round to face Legado del Fantasma, which I feel like is probably going to be a kick-ass match. You have Lince Dorado and Grand Metalik versus Hakeem Wilde and Raul Mendoza. Like, those 4 guys right there are all solid high flyers. Like, it could be a very spotty match, but if it's an NXT style match, so I highly doubt it's going to be like indie-rific style spotty, but like it's going to be good. I can't wait for that match. And that was Dusty Rhodes Classic. From there, we're going to talk about the WWE Network. Possibly the biggest news out of WWE coming out this week is that it was announced early in the week, I think either Monday or Sunday, that NBC Universal, you know, the network that owns USA Network, struck a new deal with WWE worth $1 billion. Now, we heard several years ago that WWE struck I believe a $2 billion deal with Fox to acquire SmackDown. Here they are acquiring a $1 billion deal for another thing. So in the last 2-3, how many years ago it was when they got the SmackDown deal, and then the USA extension, this company has made $4 billion. So if anybody ever thinks that WWE will go out of business due to bad booking, look no further than this. WWE will never go out of business. As much as I don't like the product now, they are here forever. They will, if they're going to outlive any company of any semblance, like, you know, AEW or Impact Wrestling, and I don't want to see any of these companies die, but if we get to 70, and there's one company left standing, guarantee it's probably going to be WWE. Because this company has $4 billion behind them, crazy stock investors, TV deals out the ass. And now we're hearing that their coveted WWE Network is going to be going to NBC streaming service Peacock. Now, we heard murmurs about this like weeks ago, but this is actually official. They're moving to Peacock. Official on March 18th. They're going to be moving all of their content. I'm assuming like the entire, like they're not going to put all their content, like it's not going to be a new interface. I feel like it's probably going to be the same interface as the network. It may even just say the WWE Network. It may literally be the same exact concept, the same exact look, the same exact feel, the same exact functions, just all on a new website. That's my assumption. I don't know that for sure. I feel like if you go ahead and you change how it looks and change how it operates, fans might be turned off by that. But we'll see in the long haul. So that's going in. Now, there is no word if any content is coming off because you are moving to a new network. You know, they may not want certain things on there. There are some TVMA things on the network, like, you know, old ECW shows and that kind of stuff. We don't know if that's coming off. I'm not going to assume it's not. You know, they don't own any licenses or rights to WWE content. WWE still owns all of it. And this will only affect U.S. viewers. So if you live like me in the U.S., then you will, by March, have to hover over to Peacock if you want to watch the WWE Network. If you live in countries like the U.K. or Spain or Mexico, is Mexico? Mexico is not part of the U.S. But, you know, any countries like that, then you don't have to worry about it. Apparently, you can just still go to the WWE Network on WWE.com and you can access it, as far as I know. But the biggest note to come out of all this is the illustrious pricing of the WWE Network. We've been hearing about this for going on a decade now. I believe the network first launched. It was supposed to launch in 2011. I still remember the very first commercial. I was in my bedroom back when I used to live in Upper Darby, Pennsylvania. And I was in my bedroom. and it aired, I think, during Raw, and it was cinema by Benny Bassi. And it was a really cool trailer showing you all the stuff coming to the network. It showed Legends House. It's like so many hours of content. Like, it was a cool looking thing, and I was so excited. I remember I took a picture of it. I'm like, fuck yeah, and all this kind of stuff. And then, like, it got delayed for like 3 years. I don't know what happened. I don't remember what happened exactly, but it got delayed for 3 years. 2014 was when he first got the network, and every single week, because this is back when I used to watch Raw. I didn't stop watching Raw until 2015. And every week on Raw and SmackDown, JBL, Michael Cole, every chance these fools got, they had to let you know that you can watch pay-per-views on the WWE Network for just $9.99. You had Vince, you had Triple H, you had wrestlers. Everybody who ever showed up on TV for the entire existence of 2014 at one point or another said $9.99. It was like a hashtag. They made fun of it. They knew it was a meme and they made the most of it. And I lie. The internet made the most of the meme. WWE Network was just tone deaf to it. But I still remember, like, it was one pay-per-view where JBL had this poster, these two pieces of paper, and one piece of paper had $54.99 pay-per-view on it, and the other piece of paper had like $9.99 WWE Network on it. And he's like, what kind of fucking stupid ass idiot would buy this shit for $54.99 when you can watch it on the WWE Network for $9.99? Obviously I'm paraphrasing. JBL did not call anybody stupid ass idiots, but like that was a kind of promotion they did for the network. Did it work? I mean, as we're speaking right now, I believe the network only has 1.1 million subscribers. Count that with the millions of followers WWE has on Twitter, followers and subscribers on YouTube, the amount of viewers they get every single week, and I'm gonna say probably not. But it moves over to Peacock, and it's moving over to Peacock, not with the $9.99 super tag, but now a new tag, a new price of $4.99. You're paying half the price on Peacock's plan. Now, this will be with ads, but if you want to subscribe to the network without ads, it will be, of course, the $9.99. I love this idea because as of right now, I'm paying for the network at $9.99, and I'm only paying for it because I still watch some pay-per-view content, and I don't want to keep unsubscribing and subscribing and unsubscribing. I'm like, you know what? I might as well just fucking keep it. Whatever. I unsubscribed in October 2019. I ended up keeping it I think a few months or so later. But the way I see it, I know there's new tiers for the network now. There's like a $9.99 tier and a $15.99 tier, something like that. And basically, if you pay extra, you don't have ads. I have ads for the network. Now, the ads don't bother me because the ads don't last very long. And you don't get ads during the show. It's usually always before the show starts. You may get like one or two during the show, but it's never like commercials or anything. It's just, I mean, it is commercial ads, but it's never like TV commercials where like it's a pivotal part of the match and then it stops and it goes to an ad. It's not ridiculous. It's not a ridiculous amount for me to warrant paying extra money to the network. So I put up with it. But seeing as I'm going to be paying $5 less for the same experience, I'm all for this. I'm all for this. And Peacock is not just exclusive to the network. There's other stuff on Peacock. Actually, I don't know much about Peacock. Peacock. Let's look up what kind of content could we find on Peacock. You have The Office. I know that recently just moved over to Peacock. One of the most watched shows on Netflix last year was The Office. That's on Peacock. What we got? We got The Office, Saved by the Bell. We got live sports. We got Yellowstone, The Voice, Trolls World Tour. It's not really showing me much from the homepage. But like, what kind of? Let's see, what shows are on Peacock? Because it's like, is it even like worth Brave New World, Psych 2. Wow, Psych 2. I only watched part of the first Psych. Dr. Death, Intelligence, The Dan Patrick Show, Curious George. I mean, it's 40 best shows. Rock, Alfred, I guess. I mean, there's nothing on here that I personally would watch myself. Maybe Law and Order. Maybe The Office, because I love The Office. There's nothing on here that's worth me breaking down to buying Peacock without the network being there. If that makes sense to you guys. But there it is. Peacock is going to be acquiring the network. How do you guys feel about it? For me, like I said, I don't mind it at all. I'm paying less money. And for me, who pays bills, I like paying less money for shit. So I'm all for it. Now, question now is, how will this affect viewership? I think it has yet to be seen. We'll have to talk about this in April, May, or June when network subscriber numbers start coming in for the network. Will those 1 million people move over to Peacock? Because after all, a lot of people don't like change. You ask people to navigate from one website to the other, and they're like, no, I'm comfortable being on this one website. And if you don't like it, then I'm not watching content anymore. Not to dig anybody or anything, but I'm just saying, that's just how people are. So I can easily see them probably losing subscribers from this move. But at the end of the day, they made $1 billion. I think they probably don't care if they lose subscribers, because they'll gain more. Peacock, let's see, how many subscribers does Peacock have? Peacock has 26 million subscribers. A whole 25 million more than the WWE Network. If anything, they probably should be happy that they're acquiring that. They're getting acquired because that's more exposure to the network. More people with Peacock will be exposed to wrestling. So this is actually a big plus for WWE. A big get for them. So I think, if anything, this is more of a plus than a negative. I don't think there is any negative in this. I think this is all one big plus for them. So good for WWE. Coming outside of that, we also got to talk about NXT possibly getting bumped off of Wednesday nights. MC Sports is also going to be closing down their NBC Sports Network show, their channel at least. And with that channel, they create a lot of sports shows, one of them being one of the most popular sports in the world, the NHL. Or at least in North America, it's one of the most popular sports. And that is confirmed to be moving over to Wednesday nights, or at least Wednesdays. And with that moving over to Wednesdays, the question is WWE going to move to another show, another day? Or will they stay on Wednesdays and be like AEW, and whenever there's a big NHL game or finals that goes overtime, they're going to get preempted. They're going to get bumped to potentially 8:30, 9 o'clock. And you think NXT ratings are bad now. Imagine this show starting at 8:30 or 9 p.m. Those ratings are going in the toilet if they're not already in there already. So if they know what's good for them, they're moving off of Wednesday nights. We've been talking about this for months now, when AEW's been whooping their ass every single week. Like, of the 70 weeks we've had AEW and NXT competing with each other, I think only 15, maybe even 10 of those weeks, NXT's actually beating AEW. Maybe even less than that. I don't even know. Let's look at this up. Hold on. We got to do more research here. Wednesday Night Wars Wikipedia. They'll tell us how many, what the win ratio looks like. Viewership. So of the 53 Dynamites, I don't know where I got the word 70 from. Of the 53 Dynamites, oof, okay. Take it back. So, actually, I am right. 53, 9, 2, 11. Yeah, I am right. That's, no, 64. Of the 64 shows we've had with NXT and AEW Dynamite, 53 of those weeks were won by AEW Dynamite. Only 9 were won by NXT, and 2 were ties. 9 of 53 were won by NXT. That is considered a bona fide failure in terms of the ratings war. So let's just end it right here. NXT's not coming back. They're in the dirt. As wrestling fans say on Twitter, it's in the mud. Just move them off Wednesday. We've been talking about this for months now, but now there's even more of an incentive. Actually, WWE actually has an excuse now, because if WWE would have moved off of Wednesday nights and this NHL move never happens, people would have been laughing. They would have been hooting and hollering on Twitter, saying, "Oh, WWE lost the Wednesday Night Wars," and Vince McMahon would have been crying in his office somewhere about having to admit to defeat. But now they can say, well, we don't want to compete with NHL, and NHL is more popular than WWE, so we think it's in the best interest for for a fact they're going to pull it's in the best interest for the fans that we move to such and such night to benefit the fans and being able to watch all pro wrestling content possible. They're going to pull that bullshit, bro. They're going to make it seem like they're the bigger men. They're gonna gaslight the fans like they always do, but it's cool. I'm not reading into that shit. So they're gonna get bumped off Wednesday nights. I'm predicting that they're getting bumped off of Wednesdays. Well, not bumped off. They're gonna elect to move at least. And the question is, what day do they move to? They're obviously not moving to Monday. That's Raw. They're not moving to. Well, they could move to Tuesday. They could move to Thursday. They're not moving to Friday because that's SmackDown. And it would be absolutely stupid of them to move to a weekend. So the only option here is Tuesday or Thursday. Now, if they wanted to just kill Impact Wrestling once and for all, they could just move to Tuesday. But I don't know if that's their interest right now. I mean, Impact is currently working with AEW, so if they wanted to, they probably could, just out of spite. But I think more logically, it is for them to move to Thursday. No wrestling shows happening on Thursday that I know of. Raw is Monday. Impact is Tuesday. Dynamite is Wednesday. SmackDown's Friday. I don't know of any wrestling show on Thursday. So I think if you're a wrestling fan, that works out for me. Works out for you guys. I think Thursday's the best move for them. Like I said, it could be Tuesday, and if it is Tuesday, I wholly expect it's because they want to kill off Impact Wrestling once and for all. Impact Wrestling has survived for too long, and I think NXT might want to finally put the nail in a coffin. And then next, once they kill off Impact, they're going to laugh at AEW, and they're going to say, "I'll be back." Because this isn't the last we've seen of NXT on Wednesday nights, I assume. At some point, they might permanently move to Thursday, but I think some point in maybe the next few years, they may be back on Wednesday. But who knows what the future entails? Who knows? We shall see as time goes on. But getting into some more WWE stuff before we close out of here with some New Japan and Stardom. We have The Undertaker commenting on the current WWE roster. He was on the recent episode of the Joe Rogan Experience, the Joe Rogan podcast. And I didn't listen to the podcast yet, not gonna lie. I'm reading a transcription from What Culture. Shout out to them. But The Undertaker had some comments to make about the current landscape of the WWE locker room, main roster, what have you. And he said the following: "I'll probably piss a lot of people off, but they need to hear it. It is what it is. To the young guys, oh, he's a bitter old guy. I'm not bitter. I did my time. I'm good." And we'll see about that. "I walked away when I learned to walk away," and we'll see about that. "I just think the product is a little soft. There's guys here and there that have an edge to them, but there's too much pretty, not enough substance. They're trying to put something out for everybody. Some guys are into the comedy shit. There's other guys that want to see some more hardcore type fighting. I think one of the biggest things that happened, we all got old at the same time, so there weren't enough guys to work with the younger guys. You also have too many people that are, these guys on the internet say I'm pretty fucking good. Okay, well, you can listen to them, or you can listen to the somebody that's been out there and has done it. You can't help it. But there has been just not enough merging of the young and new talent. When we had Stone Cold and The Rock and Triple H and Shawn Michaels, all those guys were working together, and we were all making money, and we were all drawing. Then we all aged out. I hung in there for a long time, but we kind of aged out and then left all these young guys to learn with more young guys, and the product changed." I'm going to bounce around to another quote here. that he said earlier. He said, "It's tough right now for me to enjoy the product because the product has changed so much and it's kind of soft. I'll probably piss a lot of people off, but they need to hear it. It is what it is." I said that earlier, but this is the quote they were reading. That era of tough guys, that era of guys too, those were men. You go to a dressing room nowadays and it's a lot different. I remember walking into my first real dressing room and I saw some crusty fucking men, right? Like half of them had guns and knives in their bags, and shit got handled back then. Now you walk in and there's guys playing video games and fucking making sure they look pretty. It's evolution, I guess. I don't know what it is, but I just prefer, I don't know. I just like those eras, man. I liked when men were men. Alright, so let me comment on Undertaker. Talk about this. So he basically wanted to say, all buts, that the current day crop of guys in WWE are a bunch of pussies. That's literally what he was saying without saying it. He basically just called the current crop of guys in WWE a bunch of pussies because they don't come to the arenas with knives and guns and shit. I'm saying here like, wait a minute. So you mean to tell me going to the arenas with knives and guns that's a safe work environment apparently to the Undertaker? That's apparently supposed to harden the next generation? I don't know. Undertaker comes across as, I know he said I'm going to come across as the bitter old guy, and yes, that's exactly what he comes across as. The bitter old guy. It just sounds like a whole, back in my day, we used to have guys come in with guns and knives in their back pocket, and shit got handled back then. All these guys nowadays come back with their video games and that's where I really start to laugh. Because I'm like, Undertaker is talking about how guys nowadays are backstage with their video games, da-da-da-da-da. I'm like, yo, I literally laughed when I saw this. I'm like, no, is this the same Undertaker? Is this the same Smart Calloway that has a TikTok? Is this the same Undertaker that has a TikTok? Talking about real men, the current crop of guys play video games and trying to make themselves look pretty. Bro, you wore eyeliner every week on TV, and you have a TikTok in your 50s, and you want to talk about the current crop of guys not being men because they play video games and trying to make themselves look pretty? Like, come on now. I think it's laughable when Undertaker says this kind of stuff. Like, it doesn't anger me, but like the whole when men were men thing, like he's really just calling out the entire crop of guys and saying like they gotta toughen up and all this kind of stuff. And I just feel like, I don't think there's anything wrong with the crop of guys now. We grew up in a generation where video games are widely accepted, where people, yes, I understand the whole stigma of wanting to see more badasses. I agree with the Undertaker in that sense. Yes, I would like to see more badass characters in professional wrestling. But I think the crop of guys that we have now, the gimmicks that we have now, I mean, a lot of them work. I'm pretty sure the Undertaker hates the Orange Cassidy character, but guess what? There's an audience for Orange Cassidy. There's people out there that love Orange Cassidy. There's people out there that would say their favorite wrestler right now is Orange Cassidy. Xavier Woods. He has the Up Up Down Down show. You think he isn't making bank right now off of playing video games? He's making good money. I bet you he's making more money than Undertaker does every single week off of video games. Isn't he about to be on G4 soon? Xavier Woods is making bank playing video games, but apparently he's not a real man because he doesn't bring knives and guns to work. I don't really get Undertaker's whole stick. Like I said, I get it, but the only thing I get is that he is old and he grew up in the era where this stuff wasn't acceptable. And now that he's old, it's the whole, well, we gotta go back to the days of when my time was big. My time was bigger, so we gotta go back to that time, and it's just not how it works. That's just not how it works. You can't rewind the clock back to 1990 and then everything goes back to normal. That's not how this works. Even if we had an edgier product with women wearing half-naked clothing, going out having pillow fights and shit, and you have men out there being the bad, like, it's not gonna go back to the days of 9, 5, and 4 million viewers. The fact of the matter is, pro wrestling is a dead niche. I'm sorry to say it. I know some of you are going to hate to hear it, but pro wrestling is a dead niche. It is. And I feel like The Undertaker probably really badly wants to go back to that era so he can feel comfortable somehow, some way in a locker room that he's not in anymore, because guess what? He's supposed to be retired. But if that's how he feels, that's how he feels. But I just find it funny that that's exactly how he thinks of the young. And this is where I also got to talk about here. I really hate it when this older generation does this shit, because these are the same guys who want to say, back in my day, we had this and that and this and that, and things were over and people were drawing and da 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 da. Yes, I understand back in your day, wrestling was popular, but it's not popular anymore. And to make it popular, we have to get with the current generation, what the current generation likes. And if the current generation is not going to care about what the fuck you did back in the day, then why would we be doing that right now? Right? If the current generation of fans don't want to see half naked women in pillow fights, and I'm not going to lie and say that some fans don't want to see that, but if most fans care about work rate and shit, why would we want to go back to the days of women having 2-minute matches and having, you know, those kissing contests and bikini contests, and even just let's talk about the men. Back in the Attitude Era, the men's wrestling was not all that good. Not the work rate of today. How many 5-star matches do you think about happened in the 1990s, the late 1990s? I can't think of many. Maybe Bret Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Maybe Stone Cold and The Rock. I can't think of that many. I can name like 10, 15, 20 different matches that I absolutely loved and thought were amazing that happened in the last year. I can't tell you that many off the top of my head that happened in the year 1999, which was the most popular year for professional wrestling. People care about work rate nowadays. And yes, people care about characters, and I would even argue you could make the argument that people care more about characters than they care about work rate, which is a acceptable argument, and I would probably agree with you on that. But I don't think if we go back to that era that it's going to make a huge difference. You're just going to segregate fans, because the fans nowadays want to see the product they're looking at right now. Yes, it's cool to have nostalgia. Nostalgia does sell, but nostalgia only lasts for a long time. Nostalgia is like milk. It tastes great at first, and as days goes on, it still tastes okay, but it has an expiration date. And at some point, it's going to spoil, and fans are going to want to move on to the next big thing. It doesn't last forever. I don't think this whole generational thing is going to work entirely until the older generation accepts what the newer generation is doing. If you want to come in and give them some pointers and give them some things to do, like here, maybe try this, maybe get this gimmick over, fine and dandy. But to bury the next generation, that's not doing anything but telling your fans to not like this generation. And guess what? This generation is professional wrestling. So if they don't like professional wrestling now, then what are they going to do? They're going to stop watching wrestling. What you're saying is going to have the backwards effect. I'm not saying you got to suck everybody's dick and kiss up to them and lie. But I'm going to say exactly what I said about the Jim Ross thing. Stop burying your talent that works today. I hate that shit. I hate it. It's not doing any good to professional wrestling when you say that these wrestlers look like bitches and they're not doing any, like, it does not, I'm getting so heated talking about this. It doesn't make us look good. And I say us because I associate myself with these wrestlers that are in their 20s, in their 30s. That's what I'm growing up right now. It doesn't make them look good when you say they don't look good. When you say, back in my day, we were better, we had better this, we had better that, that's not inspiring anybody. That's just making people believe what you say. If they believe what you say, they're going to start to believe this generation of wrestling sucks, and they're going to probably stop watching this generation of wrestling. They may go back and watch your wrestling, but they're not going to watch this wrestling. Or they're going to go back, they're going to go online, and they're going to turn into those corny ass anti-smarks with no fucking lives that think that they're so fucking awesome for saying that wrestling sucks because, oh, well, back in the 90s, we had, like, I don't understand the whole anti-smart thing either. You know what? I'm getting all worked up. Let's move on here. Undertaker, I love you, buddy, but this ain't it. Moving on from that, I think I went a bit over time here on that rant. So, the Stardom 10th anniversary show, I might have to talk about that separately because I'm not going to have too much time to talk about it here. Let's get in to New Japan Pro Wrestling. This coming Saturday is New Beginning in Nagoya, one of their bigger New Beginning shows happening. The other two are going to be New Beginning in, I believe, Osaka. A two-part show happening on February the 10th and February the 11th. Let's talk about the upcoming match card and my predictions for it. On this show, we have Kazuchika Okada and Toru Yano versus Evil and Yujiro Takahashi. I think they're building up to Okada and Evil having a match in Osaka, which I'm not excited for. The match that New Beginning last year absolutely was atrocious. If they could have a similar match to New Japan Cup 2017, or G1 Climax 2017, or G1 Climax 28, or G1 Climax 29, great. But what we had last year, that was suckish. I don't want to see that again. Evil and Yano are in here to probably, Yano and Yuji are in here to take the pin, I assume. And I think it's going to be Evil pinning Yano in this match to get the win for the Bullet Club. We also have Master Wato, Sho, hey, look, it's Homa, and the IWGP Intercontinental and Heavyweight Champion, God himself, Kota Ibushi, going up against Bushi, Hiromu Takahashi, Tetsuya Naito, and Sonata. I'm going to say that Sonata taps out Homa in this match to get the win for LIJ. They're going to have to make LIJ look strong going into the match with Kota Ibushi, which I'm going to predict a bit later on, but I think Sonata's going to look pretty strong, as he has been the last few weeks on New Beginning tours. We get into our 3 crop of singles matches on the show. We have Hiroshi Tenzan versus the Great Okan. The loser must retire the Mongolian chops. Because if you guys know, and if you should know this by now, Hiroshi Tenzan really popularized the Mongolian chops back in the 2000s. And now, I don't want to say he passed the move along. I want to say the move was pretty much stolen by the Great Okan. And the Great Okan now does the ah! And then does the Mongolian. You guys like my Great Okan impression? He now does that and then does the Mongolian chops. And I guess Tenzan doesn't like it too much. So now the loser must stop using the chops. The Great Okan took an L to Tanahashi at Wrestle Kingdom. He should not be taking an L to Tenzan. I know Tenzan's a legend. I know Tenzan pretty much popularized the Mongolian chops. He is the Mongolian chop. But he's 50 years old. He's a New Japan dad. I think it'll be fine if he no longer does the move anymore. So I'm going to go with the Great Okan to win this match. If Tenzan wins this match, I don't know what to do with the Great Okan. I don't know what you do with the Great Okan. The guy's a loser. He lost to Tanahashi and he lost to Tenzan. He loses to the New Japan dads. Like, who's that helping? They should be looking strong coming out of Wrestle Kingdom, where all 3 members, Ospreay, Okan, and Jeff Cobb, all lost at Wrestle Kingdom. They should be winning at least until New Japan Cup. Which leads me to the next match. Will Ospreay versus Satoshi Kojima. No disqualification. What this will entail, because it's a no DQ match, I have no idea. I don't know if Ospreay's now going to be a hardcore wrestler. Imagine if Ospreay is just now this hardcore wrestler because it starts coming out with kendo sticks and shit. I wouldn't be mad at that. I don't be mad at it. But we'll see what happens in this no DQ match. Easily it should be Ospreay winning. Satoshi Kojima should not be beating Ospreay. It shouldn't be happening. I think Ospreay right now is still an early pick for me to win New Japan Cup. And he can't win New Japan Cup if he's losing. So, Ospreay to get the win. And then the main event of New Beginning in Nagoya. We have Shingo Takagi versus Hiroshi Tanahashi for the Never Openweight Championship. Shingo Takagi's been holding on to this championship, I believe, since November when he beat Minoru Suzuki for it. Tanahashi, Ace of Japan, carried New Japan on his back for a decade, really. until he passed the torch to Okada 6-7 years ago. Tanahashi has stepped down from his top spot in New Japan. He's barely really featured in main events anymore. I don't know if this is his face. I don't know how long it's been since he's main event at a New Japan show. Not like a Road 2 show, obviously, but like an actual big show for New Japan. I don't know how long it's been since he's main event at a show, but this is his first main event. I can't wait. Tanahashi in these main events is always great. And I'm excited because Shingo Takagi, in my opinion, is one of the best wrestlers in the world right now. This guy, it's impossible to have a bad match with him. And you put him in a ring with Tanahashi, who's one of the greatest of all time. And their styles are so different. Takagi's a hard hitter, never style wrestler. Tanahashi's a very old school style New Japan, not more so that New Japan Epic, but more so that King's Road style build-up match that you see with Tanahashi. Working over body parts, you know, using moves to their advantage, building up to it. And Shingo's done it before. Shingo's more so hard-hitting now. And I'm curious about if Shingo's going to work Tanahashi's match or if Tanahashi's going to work Shingo's match. That's where I think the intrigue is. What kind of match are we going to see? Either one is going to be great. But I'm curious about if they're going to try to do one or if they're going to blend it. I'm sure they're going to try to blend it somehow. But either way, I'm excited for this. This is a potential match of the year match right here. I'm going to go with, and honestly, anybody can win and I won't be mad. But I think Shingo retains. Shingo will pin Tanahashi and retain the Never Weight Championship. If Tanahashi beats Shingo, it's going to be huge. Because Tanahashi has never been a Never Weight Champion. And if the Ace of Japan holds the Never Championship, that immediately uplifts that title. And that title needs an uplift. And not an uplift as if like the title's buried or anything. But like they don't treat the title as if it's a worthy contender for anything. Like you have the IC, which is with the heavyweight. It's a prop. The US title is with Jon Moxley in America. He's never coming back. And then you have the Junior Heavyweight Championship, which they treat well enough, but the Never Weight Championship has never really been propositioned as one of the top titles in New Japan. If Tanahashi holds it, I wholeheartedly believe they may actually start treating that like a secondary championship, especially when you have talks about Kota Ibushi merging the IC and Heavyweight Championship. You may want to start treating that championship like it's a big deal, and Tanahashi holding it is going to solidify that. Now, you could keep the title on Shingo and do the same thing, but I don't see them doing that unless Tanahashi holds it. However, I think Shingo is retaining. I'm going to go with Shingo to retain that title. And once again, either man wins. I'm happy with the result. But that is my predictions for New Beginning in Nagoya. Now we get into the Royal Rumble predictions. On this show, we have 6 matches so far. One of the few being Bobby Lashley defending the U.S. Championship against Riddle. I hate calling him Riddle. It's Matt Riddle, but Riddle. I know Matt Riddle beat the Hurt Business in the 3-on-1 gauntlet match on Raw this weekend. Of course, I watched Raw because you guys wanted me to. I know he beat them. This puts good momentum on him. I don't think he's beating Lashley, though. I'm going to go with Bobby Lashley to retain the U.S. Championship. We also have Asuka and Charlotte Flair defending the Women's Tag Team Championships against Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. I don't understand why Asuka and Charlotte Flair are even Tag Team Champions because they're literally never with each other. They're in their own separate storylines. Asuka is, I don't know if she's still feuding with her after this point, but Asuka has this mini feud with Alexa Bliss. And Charlotte is feuding with Lacey Evans, but yet they're the Women's Tag Team champions. As the tag team champions, you should be with your tag team partner, having tag team matches, finding tag team feuds. However, they're in separate feuds, wrestling singles matches. Does that make sense to anybody? It doesn't make any sense to me. So if it's me, I'm putting the titles back on Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler because real tag teams should be holding the titles. I love Asuka. You guys know how I feel about Charlotte. I don't think they should be tag team champions if they're not actually going to be tag team champions. So I'm going to go with Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler to win this match. Next up, we have the Universal Championship on the line as Roman Reigns defends the championship against Kevin Owens in a last man standing match. I've heard they've been having a good feud so far. Roman Reigns with his great promos. Kevin Owens has always been great on promos. They've been having really good matches. I heard the Steel Cage match on SmackDown was good. I heard the TLC match was good. I haven't seen either one of them, but I've heard good things about it. So I'm expecting this to be a good match as well. If I remember correctly, didn't Roman Reigns have a last man standing match with Baron Corbin last year at the Royal Rumble? I'm pretty sure he did. If it wasn't last man standing, it was like this false count anywhere type stipulation. Either way, I don't see Kevin Owens winning it. I know Kevin Owens has lost the last 3 matches, but Kevin Owens is beating Roman Reigns. I think Roman's holding on to that title at least for the first half, maybe even most of 2021. I don't know who he drops it to, but I think Kevin Owens is not beating Roman Reigns. I'm going to go with the Tribal Chief to retain the Universal Championship. And now we get into the Women's Royal Rumble match. And let me look up who's actually in this match. I know who my prediction is. Let me just go over all the entries in this match. So in the Women's Rumble match, we have confirmed Nia Jax, Charlotte Flair, Bianca Belair, Bayley, Mandy Rose, Dana Brooke, Peyton Royce, Alexa Bliss, Shayna Baszler, Liv Morgan, Ruby Riott, and Tamina. That's like what? 10 women, maybe less than 10? Oh, 12 women. So almost half the match has been confirmed. There's still a lot more women to go. Of the crop of women named, and I've said this in my, year predictions for 2021, I'm going to still stick with it. I believe that Bianca Belair will win this Royal Rumble match. She held the record. I believe she holds the record last year for most eliminations. Well, tied with Shayna Baszler with 8 eliminations. Together, they eliminated literally half of the Rumble match. That's crazy to think about. But Bianca Belair did great in Rumble last year. And I think she's going to go the whole mile and win this year. So Bianca's my pick. And I'm going to say that she will choose to face Sasha Banks at WrestleMania this year. Next up, we have the WWE Championship on the line as Drew McIntyre defends the WWE Championship against Goldberg. Most of you know I don't like Goldberg. I've never liked Goldberg. It's not a whole bandwagon thing like, oh, you only don't like Goldberg because he's beating these guys. Like, no. Ever since I was young, I never saw the appeal in Goldberg. And just growing up, I just don't like Goldberg. That's just it. Drew McIntyre, I've been rooting for this guy for the last 2 years. In 2019, when I went to Arizona for the Royal Rumble, he was my pick to win. He didn't. But in 2020, he wasn't my pick to win. And what do you know? He won the Rumble. I'm assuming he's not in the Rumble this year because he's the champion. So he can't win twice, sadly. But in this match against his biggest challenge yet, Goldberg, who's known for beating the newer generation of guys, will Goldberg come in here and beat Drew McIntyre? Looking at his track record, he's beaten Kevin Owens for the Universal Championship. He's beaten The Fiend for the Universal Championship. I don't see why he wouldn't beat Drew McIntyre. I think fans don't want to believe that he'll beat Drew McIntyre because of how much they've been pushing Drew. But think about how much they pushed Kevin Owens before Goldberg beat him. Think about how much they pushed The Fiend before Goldberg beat him. Why wouldn't they have Goldberg beat Drew McIntyre? Do I want to see it? Absolutely not. But I feel like being the naive wrestling fan, those days are over. From nowadays, I just try to look at when I at least watch WWE. Who do I know for a fact, or who do I predict to win, not who I want to win? And who I predict to win is likely going to be Goldberg. I see Goldberg beating Drew McIntyre. The fans shitting on this show. Now, there's no fans to shit on the show. So if they wanted to have Goldberg win, they don't got to worry about fans booing. They don't got to worry about fans hijacking the Rumble. This is actually the worst period of time for us right now. Because if they want to do some bullshit, they don't have to worry about fans shitting on it. We'll shit on it online. Absolutely. But they don't have to worry about fans shitting on it live in the arena like they did in the 2014 Rumble or the 2015 Rumble. They don't have to worry about that. So if they want to have him beat him, they could have him beat him, and I think they're going to go with that. I think Goldberg wins. If Drew wins, happy day. If he doesn't, I saw it coming. I'm still going to be pissed about it. But then we move on to the men's Royal Rumble match. Confirmed for this match, we have Daniel Bryan, Bobby Lashley, AJ Styles, Randy Orton, Otis, The Miz, Jey Uso, Cesaro, Jeff Hardy, Sami Zayn, Dolph Ziggler, Shinsuke Nakamura, Big E, John Morrison, Sheamus, Mustafa Ali, Elias, and Edge. All confirmed for the match. That is 18 of 30 men. Still 12 entries left to go. Edge has been confirmed, so he's not a surprise anymore. Who the surprise entries will be, I have no idea. But this is probably the hardest to predict because I don't watch the main product. I can't really be like, oh, well, those guys have been booked pretty strong. I mean, I could tell you who I heard has been booked strong. I know Daniel Bryan is everybody's top pick to win. So that's an easy choice. Bobby Lashley's been booked pretty strong, but he's the U.S. champion. AJ Styles is not a bad pick at all. Randy Orton's been booked pretty strong, so he could win, but I don't want to see Randy Orton be a 3-time Rumble winner, so I'm good. The Miz is the Money in the Bank briefcase holder. He's not winning it. Jey Uso's not winning it. Cesaro's been booked pretty strong, but it's Cesaro. He's not winning it, sadly. Shinsuke Nakamura's been booked pretty good, well, but he's won Rumble already. He's not winning it again. Sheamus is a good pick to go with. They still have this ongoing feud with Sheamus and Drew McIntyre. It's been kind of halted with Drew feuding with Goldberg, but I'm sure it's going to pick back up. If Drew beats Goldberg, I probably would go with Sheamus, but I'm predicting Goldberg's going to win. So, Mustafa Ali, probably not. I would love to see it, but probably not. Edge is a big maybe, but I don't know who he would challenge. Maybe Roman, because Roman eliminated Edge last year. That could be Spear versus Spear, but I know that's the Goldberg-Roman storyline they wanted really badly. I don't think they're going to replace Edge with that. Edge doesn't really have a reason to win, especially when WWE champion is not Randy Orton, so I wouldn't go with Edge. For me, I don't know who to go with. I mean, everybody in this match has a viable chance of winning because I don't know. But I'm gonna just say Sheamus. I'm gonna say Sheamus if Drew wins. If Drew doesn't win, I don't know. Fucking Daniel Bryan, I guess. I don't want to go with Daniel Bryan because everybody says Daniel Bryan, but if the betting odds say Daniel Bryan and the fans say Daniel Bryan, then maybe Daniel Bryan. But the thing is, we've been saying Daniel Bryan for 2014, 2015. He didn't win either one of those, so I feel like fans are setting themselves up to be upset. I won't be upset if Daniel Bryan loses, by the way. I won't be because I'm not betting on it, but I'm going to go with Sheamus or Daniel Bryan. Hate me for picking two, but please, I don't watch this product. Leave me alone. That's my Royal Rumble predictions. Who do you guys predict? Comment down below. Let your boy know. Also, today is one of the final days to enter in our Royal Rumble pool, which you can enter in on the Tyler Kuhn Williams YouTube channel. You go to youtube.com/c/Tyler Kuhn Williams. That's TYLERKUNWILLLLLL. What the hell? WILLIAMS. Go to the community tab and click on the thread that says the Tyler Kuhn Williams 2nd Annual Royal Rumble thread and press comment and type the word Rumble and you're entered in the pool. There's still 13 spots left. Enter in now. Our final day for entry will be Friday. Friday is the deadline, so please get in if you're not already in. And with that being said, I asked questions on Patreon about who should be. I had 3 matches of the week. I'll go by them really quickly before I go to that. 3 matches of the week. Top 3 matches of the week for me. AJ Styles versus Ricochet from last week's Raw. The spot where AJ Styles suplex Ricochet onto the apron and calling for the Styles Clash was lit. The match itself was good too, but that was a cool spot. Timothy Thatcher versus Tommaso Ciampa from NXT this week. I liked that. That was really good. And Natsupoi versus Konami from Stardom. even though I hated the finish of that match, I would say that was a match that I thought had the potential to be really good, but ended with a shitty finish. But I liked most of what I saw. But I asked questions on Patreon. Mason Goldberg answers. Big shout out to Mason Goldberg, NJPW Fan 10, and Liam Version 1 for being Patreon backers. You too can be a Patreon backer. Patreon.com/TylerMask. Mason asks. He asked first about Shingo versus Tanahashi prediction. I did that earlier, so I'm going to skip that one. He asked, will WWE ever be able to have a next big babyface without fundamental changes, even past Triple H taking over? The next big babyface without fundamental changes? I'm going to say probably not. I mean, you can always have a Daniel Bryan on your hands. It can always happen. But without a crowd, I think it's going to be really, really hard to have it. Because part of being a big babyface is that fan reaction. You have that fanfare online, but you have the fan reaction. You get those big electric pops. Like, imagine if 1999 had COVID and you had no fans. And you hear the glass break and Stone Cold Steve Austin comes out. But to no crowd noise. Or to very little crowd noise, or to piped in crowd noise. Would you perceive Stone Cold as a big babyface? I personally wouldn't. So, is it possible? Yes. I don't know what the tools have to be made for it. I think once fans come back, and I mean all fans come back, full arena crowd fans come back, I think that whoever has the most work rates, has the best character and a compelling storyline, has the potential to be the next big babyface. And it could literally be anybody. I think we've gone without fans for so long. Fans really badly want to get back into them shows and cheer their heads off. That literally the first person to just go out there and put it all on the line and give us the best promos and the best segments, the fans will take to immediately. And WrestleMania will be the first WWE crowd show. I think that whoever WWE puts in that opening match, legitimately, that first opening match, and it could be the pre-show, probably not, but that first opening match on night one of WrestleMania, whatever babyface is in that match, they gotta show the fuck out. I mean, they gotta go all out. And I think they will have a big babyface on their hands. Or even the main event. They got that big babyface in the main event. They get that win. They have that big Daniel Bryan yes moment. They made a big star. It could happen at as early as this year's WrestleMania. But it's all about how WWE goes about it. And if I had any trust in this company, I would say they're going to fuck it up somehow. But it's all about how they position people with fans coming back. I think if anything now, it's even easier. But soon down the line, probably not. But right now, it's whoever they want. Except for Goldberg. Fuck Goldberg. But let's get into his last question before we get out of here, because I gotta go to work very soon. He asked, how have you felt on the whole AEW Impact angle and Kenny Omega as the AEW champion? Well, Mason Goldberg, if you want me to be honest, when December 2nd came and Kenny Omega beat Jon Moxley for the AEW championship, I was running a high like most wrestling fans were from Sting being on the show. Kenny Omega ran backstage saying, I'm going to Impact Wrestling, and I too, like many fans, were very excited. They were very much anticipating what this can mean. Are we seeing a partnership? And that we got a partnership. We're seeing Kenny Omega on Impact every single week. Tony Khan and Tony Schiavone on Impact every single week. We're now seeing the Good Brothers on AEW. So that in itself, it's cool. It's great to see these companies working together. The angle itself is okay to me, but I feel like Impact Wrestling has benefited more from this from AEW. I'm an AEW fan. I don't identify as an Impact fan. I could give a shit what they're doing on Impact Wrestling. Yes, Kenny Omega's on Impact. Yes, I know Private Party and Matt Hardy on Impact Wrestling now. Cool. I might tune in to see those guys. But I don't care about whatever else is happening on that show. And that's because Impact Wrestling doesn't give me a reason to care. I don't have an investment or attachment to any of these wrestlers, so I don't care. I only care about the AEW guys. And when you go back to AEW, and Kenny Omega is barely on the show. We've seen Kenny Omega on Impact Wrestling more times than we've seen Kenny Omega on AEW television. And Kenny Omega is the AEW champion. He's not the Impact champion. He's the AEW World Champion, and we barely see him on AEW television. If you ask me personally, I care less about Kenny Omega now than I ever have, like ever. And it sucks because I feel like Kenny Omega is at the top of his game in terms of, I should feel this way. But I think it's mainly because Kenny Omega is not on Dynamite. And when he's on Dynamite, it's with Don Callis, who Don Callis is a good heel. But I feel like the segments with Kenny Omega are just not effective for me. Number one, I think Kenny Omega as a heel just doesn't work. Is not my thing. On promos, Kenny Omega is not good. He has glimpses of glory, like his John Moxley promo, like back in All Out 2019. He has glimpses of glory when he can go out there and be Kenny Omega or Tyson Smith. If he is being himself, if he is being Tyson Smith, he's good on the microphone. But when he's being this goofy, over-the-top, cleaner character, I'm turned off. Like, I can't do it. And that's just not who I want to see. Then you have Don Callis being a bit over the top himself about things. I'm not really keen. I think he's a good heel, but I'm not keen on Don Callis as a manager. It's not really doing it for me either. This is objective, of course. This is how I feel. I am not big on Kenny Omega right now. I feel like we don't see him on AEW. He's not been that good. Like, I think people are really blinded by the fact that Kenny Omega's had this one great match with Phoenix. He had one great match with Phoenix, and apparently he's the greatest thing since Sliced Blood. Like, okay. But he's on an Impact every week, doing whatever numbers he does for Impact. I did a video on this on the Patreon page. Doing whatever numbers for Impact Wrestling. But when he comes back to AEW, it's the segment with Don Callis, and he's being all goofy, and Don Callis is like, yeah, I know Kenny for 30 years, and this curly hair kid is going to be the next big thing, and da-da-da-da-da. I don't think it's interesting. I think I've been way more interested in AEW, and I think part of it is that AEW the last month has been pretty weak. Let's be honest with me here. Do you think the last month of AEW television has been strong? What have we got in the last few weeks with AEW? Exactly. Sting showing up and leaving every week. Darby and Brian Cage and Ricky Starks. This tired storyline that I'm so ready to end. We've been getting Cody versus Peter Avalon. We getting random ass tag team matches. Like, I feel like after the Brody Lee death, AEW had no idea what to do. And I understand it. That Brody Lee death rocked them. I understand it. But gotta call a spade a spade. Ever since then, it has been very weak television. I just gotta call a spade a spade. That's just how it is. That's how I see it. And Kenny Omega is the champion at the time. He's not enhancing the product. So I think Kenny Omega, as of right now, is a weak champion. Now, he's only in his reign, his first month as champion. Anything can go, anything can happen to improve the reign, to improve the product. I'm not completely shutting out Kenny like he needs to drop the championship right now in order to get AEW back on track. I'm not saying that. But at the same time, I do think some changes need to happen with AEW and the AEW Championship. Because right now, it's not innovative. It's not interesting. I'm probably going to miss AEW Dynamite today because I have to go to work during this show. And guess what? I started a card for Dynamite. It ain't that appealing to me. So I'm not crying about missing Dynamite today. I'll catch it tomorrow, but I'm not crying about it. But yeah, that's what I have to say about Kenny Omega. What do you guys think about Kenny Omega? What do you guys think about the Royal Rumble and New Beginning? So much content coming up. It's going to be crazy. I'm really excited. We have New Beginning and Nagoya live stream coming up this Saturday at 3 a.m. Eastern time. Tune in for that. And then the Royal Rumble live stream. One of my biggest live streams of the year is the Royal Rumble. I've been doing Royal Rumble live streams since 2016. I did miss 2019, but since 2016, this is going to be my 4th annual Rumble live stream. I hope you guys tune in for it. It will be live at 5:30 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to be starting live. We're going to be starting early. I hope to see you all there. If you entered in our Royal Rumble pool, make sure you go to our newest video that will be dropping on Friday regarding Royal Rumble predictions on the Tyler Quinn Williams YouTube channel, where you will see what number you draw. That being said, I love you guys as always, and I will see you all for the 32nd edition of the Chill Pill Podcast next week. Peace out, guys.